Hey all, Rob here. This is my list of top e-mountain bikes for 2022.
First up, the Trek Rail. The Rail is a well-sorted trail and enduro-capable e-bike with excellent up-to-date frame geometry. It's available in a wide variety of builds and can be bought with either a carbon or aluminium frame. It's powered by the excellent Bosch Generation 4 motor, which is a punchy, powerful and lively feeling motor. It's paired with an easy-to-remove 625 watt-hour internal battery. The frame has 150mm of travel on the rear, and it's got a nice and supple feeling suspension design, and that's paired with a 160mm fork on the front. The bike is an outstanding bike to ride on the trails. With its slack 64.5-degree head angle, it provides the rider a lot of confidence on some of the steepest and gnarlier tracks. Personally, I think it's an outstanding all-round e-bike, and I've covered a huge amount of miles on this bike, and it's a bike that I would highly recommend. Next, the brand new Nukeproof Megawatt. Powered by the new Shimano EP8 motor with an internal 630 watt-hour battery, the aluminium frame bike shares the same geometry as the race-proven pedal-based bike, the Nukeproof Mega. So, it's slack, enduro-focused geometry with a short chainstay and a steep Z angle, and it's got 170mm of travel front and rear. The suspension on the bike is designed to be nice and supple off the top, and then progressive throughout the rest of the travel. It's got mixed wheel sizes, so a 29er at the front and a 27.5 at the rear. And what this does is it helps the front roll over the bigger, chunkier terrain, but keeps the rear end nice and short, and it helps the bike tuck into the tighter, twistier trails. The bike really yearns for steep, gravity-orientated trails, but actually I found it a competent climber, with a steep seat angle helping the rider weight shift forward on the climb. For their first e-bike, Nukeproof really knocked it out of the park. Next, the 2022 Generation 3 Specialized Turbo Levo. With a brand new frame design and forward-thinking electronics integration, the new Levo is a bike that manages to capture so many outstanding e-bike features and wrap it up into a single package, and it provides a great user experience. Firstly, the bike rides exceptionally well. With mixed wheel sizes, 150mm of rear travel, and a beefy Fox 38 with 160 travel on the front, it's got customizable geometry, which actually allows a rider to create anything from a nimble handling trail bike to a slackened out sled for steep and gnarly riding. It really can cater for a huge variety of riding styles. With its class-leading integration and a 700 watt-hour internal battery, it's an elegant but minimalist design that really is a fantastic piece of engineering by the US and Swiss designers. The bike is one of the lightest in the class at 22 kilograms, and it really does feel great on the trails. It's got the powerful Bros Mag S motor, which has specialised custom firmware, and they managed to combine the 90 Nm of power, but also provide the user with effortlessly smooth pedalling performance that feels really natural. The 2022 Levo is the bike that I've personally covered the most miles on in all the bikes I've tested this year, and I think it is an outstanding e-bike. Next, the Focus Jam Squared. The Focus Jam Squared is an aluminium-based e-bike built with the Bosch Generation 4 motor and a removable 625 watt-hour internal battery. It is a fantastically capable trail and all-mountain e-bike, and it's perfect on steep, loose, winding trails that I tested it on in the Surrey Hills and in and around the south of the UK. The bike has got brilliant handling characteristics. With 150mm of travel both on the front and the rear, it provides an agile, confident feeling ride. The bike comes stock with 29er reels front and rear, but actually can accommodate a mullet setup as well via a flip chip in the rear. I found the bike's value to performance ratio outstanding, with a great spec list out of the box, including well-spec'd Shimano drivetrain, Shimano brakes are standard, and the Fox 36 fork. And whilst that fork might not be the top tier model, it provided great performance on the trails. With the powerful Bosch motor, the bike climbs exceptionally well, and can even turn flatter trails into something more exciting due to the motor characteristics. I think this bike is a great bike at a great price, and I think it's possibly the best bang for buck e-bike out there right now. Next, the giant Trance X. This is the first e-bike on the list to feature Yamaha's PWX2 motor. Giant have completely customised the firmware on the motor, essentially taking a blank motor unit from Yamaha and completely writing the firmware from the ground up. What we end up with is a smooth, natural feeling but powerful motor with 80 Nm of torque. Giant have also designed their own 625 Wh battery, which is produced for Giant by Panasonic. The geometry is designed to be comfortable to ride both up and down trails. In fact, with its longer than average rear chainstay length, I found the bike to be exceptional at climbing, some of the steepest climbs that I could find. The bike has 140mm of rear travel with a 150mm fork. I found that Giant's rear Maestro suspension linkage provided an almost bottomless feeling. It ramped up nicely on bigger drops and hits. Overall, it's a great climber, very comfortable to ride, with a good suspension platform that make this bike great for those big days out. Next up, the Orbea Rise. The Orbea Rise is a super light e-bike. My test bike weighs in at just over 18 kilos, which is significantly lighter than a full-fat e-bike. The motor is a custom-tuned Shimano EP8 that Orbea have spent years planning with Shimano. It's currently the most powerful lightweight e-bike on the market, with the EP8 pushing out 60 Nm of torque. Because of the efficiency with the tune on the motor, the bike doesn't need a heavy battery, so the Orbea Rise comes with a smaller 360 Wh internal enclosed battery, but there's also a range extender available for the bike if you need more. The bike feels incredibly light and nimble on the trails. The way it manoeuvres and twists and turns is so close to a regular pedal bike, but you've got a decent punch from the Shimano EP8 motor. It's not quite full fat power, but I think Orbea have dialed it really well. It's a fantastic balance between lightweight, power and agility, and the bike looks so slick and stealthy. The bike's got 140mm of travel on the rear with 150mm on the front, and I tested it on technical trails which it handled really well. And the bike is also really easy to live with. It's easy to pick up and put in a car and lift over fences. Orbea have created a brilliant lightweight e-bike, and I think it's the perfect blend of weight to power. Next, the Marin Alpine Trail. Marin had one goal when designing this bike: to make it as fun as possible to ride. And boy, did they succeed. With two models in the range, I tested the entry-level bike with the Shimano E7000 motor, which has 60 Nm of torque, and that's paired with a 500 watt internal battery. There's another model in the range that has the EP8 motor and a bigger 630 watt battery as well. The geometry numbers on the bike are really progressive, with long reach numbers, a very slack 63-degree head angle, steep seat tube and super short chainstays for an e-bike. The bike has a mixed wheel setup, so 29er on the front and 27.5 on the rear. All of this makes a bike that feels like it can take on anything, with its excellent coil-based rear suspension platform and stable, confidence-inspiring geometry. I found that they managed to design a bike that is great at sending downhill, but actually it climbs amazingly well too, with a steep seat angle helping to keep the front glued to the floor on the steepest climbs. The Alpine Trail E is a great bike at a great price. With some bikes on the list approaching 5 figures, it goes to show that you don't need to spend a fortune to have a great time on an e-bike. The Haibike AllMountain is a lot of bike for the money. Full carbon, pretty much top of the line components, and priced at £5,600. It's an ultra competitively priced e-bike. With the Yamaha PWX2 motor, a 600 watt-hour battery, all new geometry over the previous version, with a mullet wheel setup, the bike has been designed to climb as well as it descends. Haibike say the goal was to create a high-performance trail bike that's fast, stable, fun, and easy to ride, that's not just focused on downhill or enduro, but a strong uphill performer too. Here we have a seriously capable electric mountain bike that's well designed and well thought out. The powerful Yamaha motor and the lengthy rear end really do help it climb comfortably. It's a very competent descender too, with the beefy Fox 38 fork, DPX2 shock, and well-designed frame kinematic. The bike has Haibike's signature super aggressive chunky look with big oversized carbon tubes, and everything looks well proportioned. With 160mm of travel both front and rear, the geometry provides a composed and comfortable ride. It's not the fastest downhill, but it makes up for it on the climbs. And out of the box, the spec that you get for the cash is amongst the best in the industry right now. Next, the Merida E160. Merida were the launch partner for the brand new EP8 motor from Shimano, and they took the previous Merida E160, which was a very strong performer, and put in the new EP8 motor and the bigger battery. So it's got a mixed wheel size with 160mm travel at the front and 150 at the rear. It's a do-it-all electric mountain bike, with an impressive weight at just over 23 kilos and a price of £6,000. As soon as you get on the bike, it feels instantly comfortable, and I felt at home on it right away. On the trails, it feels really agile and nimble, and that's thanks to its relatively low weight, the mullet wheel setup, and friendly trail-orientated geometry. It manages to mix stability on the downhill with just the right of poppiness and playfulness for less demanding trails. The carbon frame houses an easy-to-remove battery with a single Allen key that's stashed in the rear axle. And like all bikes that use a Shimano EP8, it's got the small, neat and discreet display and the tactile mode buttons to change the motor assistance level. I tested the bike for a few weeks riding everything from cross-country trails to bike parks, and I found it performed strong in all areas. Out the box, it's well spec'd with good tyres, super grippy Maxxis rubber, and a chunky 2.6 on the rear that provides outstanding traction when motoring up the steep stuff. Overall, the bike rides beautifully, the kinematics of the frame paired with the fork up the front, so Merida are onto a great formula with this bike. It's a perfect all-rounder. And finally, there's a few bikes that deserve a notable mention. Although I've not personally ridden these, friends who have them and other reviews suggest that they are well worth checking out. First up, the Santa Cruz Bullit, which has the Shimano EP8 motor, 170mm travel, and it's a lightweight build. The Whyte E160 RS V2, which has the Bosch Generation 4 motor, and finally the Scott Ransom Eride 920. These are 3 bikes that I'd love to test, but I strongly recommend that you check them out. So, thanks for watching. Let me know with a thumbs up if you found this useful, and subscribe so you don't miss any more of my e-bike videos.